Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week, and halfway we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. And we've spun it off, and we're up to number 56. And how do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out. We ask for questions. Once we get all of our questions, the post is deleted, and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
I purchased a 2019 F-150 Lariat and went to a Toyota dealership to see about trading it in for a Tundra. I was surprised my vehicle is now only worth $45,000 from $75,000. Ouch. What's the key to preserving depreciation? By the way, I will keep my F-150 since I don't believe trading it in for an $85,000 plus Tundra makes any sense financially. Wow. I'm surprised about that with the F-150 because it's such a popular choice. J.D. Power gives that 2019 model a reliability score of 88 out of 100, or an overall score. It's actually quite good.
It's car dealers, in my opinion, being car dealers, Andrea. I bet you if you shop the market, you probably get some better quotes on that. And we've all known that the auto industry is gone through a shortage of cars. Now, lately, this is part of the problem. There has not been a shortage of pickup trucks.
Yeah.
They've made too many pickup trucks, and brand new pickup trucks, they're actually reducing interest rates and giving some discounts on some models. So maybe there's just too much saturation of pickup trucks. I think keeping your truck, it's pretty new, is not a bad way to go. But you are looking at the number one cost of owning any vehicle is what?
Depreciation.
So you just got hit, my friend, with depreciation. So I hate to say this, Andrea, but to get around the depreciation with the pickup truck, probably the Toyota originally would have been the better buy.
Yeah, the Tundra would have been your better buy. It always has great resale value. That is a popular choice. Another thing you could do, sounds like you've just decided you're going to keep your F-150, but you could sell it privately. Don't rely on the dealership. A lot of times when you do put it out kind of on the open market, you will find that you can get a little bit more money for it. But like Zach said, if the market is saturated with F-150s, yours has to be pretty special, like things low mileage. We just talked about this in our last Questions, Coffee, and Cars, that we always talk about mileage. But it is true. People will look at a vehicle that has lower mileage and they will pay more for that.
It's the number one vehicle. They sell more of them than anything else, so it can get saturated.
We rented a Tesla Model Y for a week because we were really enjoying our test drive at the dealership. What a great vehicle. But if we are to purchase the same Tesla, it would put us close to $80,000. When you start looking around at all the options at $80,000, kind of opens your eyes to other possibilities. Yeah. Well, $80,000 is a lot of money for sure.
So this is obviously a Canadian buyer because they're much cheaper in the U.S. So Tesla ramped their prices way up in 2022.
Yeah.
And then they dropped their prices by 20% for the most part in 2023. Interestingly, talking about Tesla and dropping prices, Hertz, the rental car company.
I just heard this morning.
Yeah, so they're getting rid of all the Teslas that they took. I think there's 20,000 of them. And the number one reason was that they're too expensive to repair.
Yeah.
And they got nailed on the resale value because they bought them when they were way higher, and now they have to sell them with the market much lower.
And also the reason why they want to get rid of them is because no one is renting them.
Well, it's the whole unknown, right? If you are a Tesla owner, you know the rules of the roads. You know you got to plug it in overnight. You know where you're going to go to charge it. If you're a newbie, like these people renting it for the first time, it's all unknown.
Yeah.
So people are afraid of the unknown. I think it's a great way to test drive a car. We have a longtime viewer of ours, Killington Link, lives in Ottawa. He rents cars all the time because he likes to try different cars. He rents them, so it's not a bad way to go.
So I would suggest you also added, should I just wait for the 2024 model to see if there's any changes? It's still $80,000. The great thing about Tesla is they continue to do over-the-air updates, software updates. So I think you're always going to get a current model. I don't think Tesla for 2024 is coming out with a redesigned Model Y like they did with the Model 3. By the way, the Model 3 is in North America now.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. When is it coming? The Highlander model, right?
Yeah.
When's it coming? So the thing is, these are incremental changes. The one thing is, you're now in the price category of the GV70 electrified, which we love.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of beautiful luxury, really is luxury on the inside for a similar price.
For sure. Love your show. Keep it going. Ordered my RAV4 XSE hybrid and it is about a year wait. Oof. That was last August. Do you think with increased production of the RAV4, I might get it earlier? Thanks. I don't know. We talked to Toyota about production. They are at full capacity. This vehicle is so popular. I mean, I don't even think, when gas prices went through the roof, they weren't prepared for this. Everybody wants a RAV4 hybrid.
And now the price of fuel has dropped, but people have caught on to the fact that hybrids are not that much more expensive to buy. They give you great savings right away. They're incredibly reliable, and Toyota is the brand that most people associated with hybrids. The one thing that we were in the company of Toyota executives in Japan, we had Scott McKenzie, who works for PR at head office, but he also works for the factory where they make the RAV4 you're waiting on. And Stephen Beattie, the vice president of Toyota Canada, and they said, we're making more cars than ever. They're
more
selling,
than ever.
They have record sales. So the problem is they're a victim of their own success.
Yep.
They're selling so many of these, they're making as many as they can, but not enough.
So I would say that probably you're not getting your vehicle anytime soon. Hey, we ordered a GTI last April and we still don't have it. So that's a hybrid. I would just be patient, drive what you have, and when it comes in, start saving at the pumps.
Our GTI is a hybrid? I don't want it.
No,
I don't want a
it's
hybrid
not.
GTI.
Nothing wrong with a hybrid.
No.
I like a good hybrid. Now, we also want to talk about Kia. We were recently at CES in Vegas after we've talked a lot about battery replacement costs, and we asked them, can you repair your batteries? They said, yes, you can repair them. That's what we want to hear because that will bring the cost down if you impact the battery. In fact, we just have a viewer who has reached out. He has an EV6 and he impacted the battery. It was his own fault. He ended up backing into something. It was an accident. The thing about this person is he's fully aware that if he gets into an accident, that the battery is not covered under the battery warranty. That is for all manufacturers. That's not just for the Hyundai Group. If you impact the battery, that is on you and you need to go through insurance. Kia Canada has processes in place. Anytime there is a problem with the battery, they get involved. And they proved it with this person. He actually reached out to me, said the dealership's been great. Kia Canada has been great. They're working with him to try and fix his battery.
So the difference is when we reached out to Hyundai about their battery replacement with the stories we broke about a month ago, they said they don't currently have the ability to repair batteries. They're working on it. We asked, well, Kia is the cousin company in the Hyundai Group. And he said, well, we do have the training, we do have the technology. And part of the reason is you need special equipment to, if you say you've got a battery and it's filled with all of these different compartments and you replace one of them and put it in, you have to calibrate that package with all the others so they work together. So there's certain training and calibration that needs to go on to make sure everything works together. Yeah. They have that training. They don't have vast numbers of people, but they could certainly look after specialty cases. And we're hearing from Hyundai, they said they don't have that. So currently it's good to hear Kia can.
And remember, Kia and Hyundai are run separately.
Totally separate.
They are two separate companies. So what Kia does is very different from Hyundai and vice versa. So you always have to keep that in mind. We recently put a video out on Kia had some unveilings of the EV3 and EV4 and CS, and people just jumped down like, I wouldn't buy this because of battery replacement costs, and they are lumping Kia and Hyundai together. What I want to say is that all manufacturers have a cost to their battery. All manufacturers know if their battery can be repaired or if it has to be replaced. So this is all new technology, and they do believe that over time, as more EVs hit the road, battery replacement costs will come down. We will see. We don't know.
Well, at least part of it can be repaired.
Yeah.
I mean, writing off the whole battery seems asinine to me.
Yeah.
If there's a dent in one part of the battery, we'll fix that part. There you go.
I'm looking for a midsize 3-row SUV. I like the Hyundai Palisade and Kia Telluride or Toyota Grand Highlander, but I don't know which one I should get. All good options.
Well, they are great options, and the Korean twins, back to them again, were our go-to top favorites until the Grand Highlander showed up.
Well, what I like about the Grand Highlander is just the option of so many powertrains, whether you want a gas model, a 2.5-liter hybrid, or the Hybrid Max. There's lots of different opportunities to get an electrified vehicle. And that's one of the things I really like about Toyota, is they haven't just focused on EVs. They have hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and now Hybrid Max.
Well, we don't have a plug-in yet for the Grand Highlander. It is in the Lexus TX, but and it's very expensive. Here's the interesting thing is that Hyundai and Kia still have the 3.8-liter V6, which is proven to be quite good, but that's it. That's all they have. And Toyota says, here we go, here's a smorgasbord of options. And what I like about the Grand Highlander, I think it's not a bad looking rig. It's huge on the inside, and it has a lot of conventional touch points on the inside. All the switchgear, everything. I mean, Hyundai and Kia do that as well, but I think they did a great job of coming out with something that wasn't freaky deaky, Andrea.
Yeah, for sure. I like the Kia Telluride a lot for its rugged good looks, and I also like the traditional shifter that it has. I like the V6 powertrain. A lot of people say actually they get very good fuel economy, better than the EPA numbers on the Telluride and the Palisade. So they're quite happy with the fuel economy of those vehicles, and they're a good size.
They're all great. I predicted when we drove the Grand Highlander, Andrea backs me up on this, absolute smash hit for Toyota. This thing is going to be, yet again, I got an order in, and it's going to take 2 years to come. We're going to hear that more and more, right?
And we just put out a comparison between the Highlander and the Grand Highlander, so make sure you check that out.
It's really good.
We think it's really good. Love your channel. Thank you. In your top 5 luxury SUV video, you guys didn't include the Infiniti QX60, even though you raved about it in your review of it and its comparison to the Acura MDX. Can you explain why? Because I'm torn between buying the QX60 or a Toyota Grand Highlander. I currently own a 2020 Lexus NX.
You know what? I got to admit, it kind of fell between the cracks when we were coming up with our list. It's one of those vehicles we just don't think about that often.
I don't know
why.
The
interesting thing is we were at CES and we were Ubering everywhere.
Yeah.
And we had an Infiniti QX60, and it was a nice spec one too. It was really nice on the inside. It is a great product. The interesting thing is we just go to the MDX because they sell so many more of them. It's
It's
just more of kind of like a baseline vehicle that most people kind of want. I don't know. I mean, you're right. I think it kind of fell between the cracks.
But I also feel that the MDX, one of them had to go off the list. So are we going to take the MDX off? It really is a terrific handling vehicle.
And a bestseller.
You've got the Type S. It drives more like a large sedan. It's comfortable. Does it do everything perfectly? No. The QX60 drives more like an SUV. It has a bit of a firmer suspension, which I love. Zach doesn't like it as much, but we both can agree that we enjoy the QX60. Some people complain that the QX60 has elements of the Pathfinder in it, especially the interior, but we see that with lots of brands.
Yeah, of course it does. It's based on the same product, and it has a 9-speed automatic, which was a big change for this current year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great choice. MDX is the best-selling mid-size 3-row SUV of all time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it made the list. It's just that vehicle.
But I have to say that the QX60 should have gotten an honorable mention
we
on
kind of
that.
missed that one, yeah.
So the QX60 starts at just over $66,500 Canadian. I'll just give Canadian numbers so I'm not throwing so many numbers at you. The Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, which is probably the most comparable to it, is 65,000 Canadian. So for me, I think in the end I would probably go with the Hybrid Max just because I think it's a terrific powertrain that blends performance and fuel economy. It's going to get better fuel economy than the QX60.
Yeah, but Andrea, you can get the Infiniti.
You can get the Infiniti. You're right. You cannot get a Grand Highlander. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are your thoughts?
You know what? I just want to say, you're right. We're not perfect. We made a mistake.
No, we made a mistake.
Been at least on our honorable mentions.
And I got to say, it's a great vehicle. It's just such a great vehicle. What can you say, Invista Avenir versus Seltos SX? Which is more likely you would buy?
Okay, the Invista is the front-wheel drive only 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo Buick that's based on the Chevy Trax.
That's right.
And then the Seltos?
Seltos, it's the 1.6T.
Yeah, also that's got the much more potent engine.
Yeah.
And now with an 8-speed automatic, they got rid of the dual clutch and all-wheel drive. So it really comes down to whether you want all-wheel drive or just front-wheel drive. I got to say, though, Andrew and I were blown away by the Buick and the Chevy Trax.
They both are great. They just don't have all of the features that you may want. So let's start with pricing. The Seltos SX in Canada starts at just over $38,500, and the Invista Avenir just over $34,500. So it's about a $4,000 difference, but you are getting more features. Things that the Invista does not have: ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, and a power passenger seat. But what the Invista does get that the Seltos doesn't: wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Well, the big one is it doesn't have all-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive is the biggie.
Yeah, so it depends where you live. I mean, if you live somewhere where you don't get snow, have at it. We were very impressed with that, and I'm questioning whether it's worth the extra for the Buick over the Chevy Trax. I think the go-to is really the Chevy Trax.
I think so too. Okay, we're going to throw in one more, even though we're running out of time, because I really like this question.
If Andrea says we're doing one more, we're doing one more.
We're doing one more. Concerning EV rebates, I'm curious about the allocation of the rebate fund. Specifically, does the dealer of the purchaser receive the rebate money? I'm interested in understanding the economic impact, including how much of the rebate is reinvested into the economy through goods and services purchases, and how much ultimately returns to government coffers through taxation on those goods. Okay, so first off, when it comes to EV rebates, the dealership will take care of that for you. It goes to the person buying the vehicle.
But you don't get a check in the mail for $5,000.
No.
They basically say if the car's $40,000, like there's any EV that's $40,000, they just say it's now 35.
That's right.
But you pay tax on the whole amount. You always get you in the taxes. So there's no, I don't think there's any money actually flowing around. I wonder how that works with like the head office. Do they eventually carve a check? I don't know.
Well, my mom did it through her plug-in hybrid, the Tucson, and the dealership took care of all of the paperwork. But I don't know if the government sends them money or how it works. Either way, it's not going back to the government where they're improving transportation for us or anything like that. Like that money doesn't go back to the government. My mom got that money.
She got the discount. She doesn't get the money. I think the question is, does the money go to the dealer? Do they get the $5,000? And then do they spend it on things, goods and services that help the economy? It's just a reduction.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
We'll have to look into that.
It's magical. All that happens is you say, I want that EV, and they carve $5,000 off and you drive it away.
Okay, I got another one for you. Battery replacement costs. Let's say you do impact the battery and it gets written off. We had 2 vehicles
recently
last year that were written off, but guess what? Those 2 people received a $5,000 rebate. So what happened to that $10,000?
It's gone.
And then if they get another EV, they get another $5,000.
The other one
I don't get it.
The other one I'm curious about is, you've opened a can of worms here, and now I've got lots of questions. I'll only ask one though, Andrea. So the rule is, you buy the car, you have to keep it for a year.
Yeah.
To get the $5,000.
Right.
If I sell the car, is anybody really checking? Did the police come to your door and say, excuse me, we understand you sold an electric car. You owe us $5,000. I have never heard anybody have that happen.
Nope.
So what's the point of having a rule if it's not enforced? Like, say I get it in my name and we sell the car in 6 months, we get the $5,000, and then the next car is in Andrea's name and she gets the $5,000. That seems like trickery.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out to Mark, who we ordered our GTI from Volkswagen, and I will ask him how it works with the ID4.
He's the specialist there for electrics.
That's right. So we'll see what he has to say, and if the dealership gets a check from the government, or do they apply for something? I'll ask him what the process is, and then we'll follow up after.
That's exhausting. It's a merry-go-round of money.
And just so much information and so many questions.
One of my reasons why I'm not a big fan of rebates. Let the market decide. Let these car companies battle it out for your money. Come up with a great product. Price it well. Let people compete for it like they have been doing for 100 years in the auto industry, instead of the government putting their thumb on. Listen, I think that's what they should do.
And also, if you purchase an EV or a plug-in hybrid and you got that rebate, tell us about your process at the dealership. We'd love to hear from you.
And also, if you sold the car in less than a year, did anybody knock at your door and say you owe us $5,000? I doubt it.
I doubt it, but we'd love to hear from you. And to get a question in, follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
And we'll see you then.
Thanks for watching.